What's up, everyone? Welcome to BRAP. It's Wednesday night. I am not, I'm not in the best of moods, number one, because a couple things. More school shootings. And I'm having issues with my pool. So, there's bigger fish to fry than that. But yeah, BRAP's just not in a good mood right now, I guess. Yeah, let me introduce my, rest of the panel. Slummo's actually out. He's actually not feeling well, so hope you feel better soon, Slummo. B-Money and Gaming Forte will be here shortly. And we have Game Logic with us right now, and then BG will be joining us here in a little bit. He's running a little bit late. But Game Logic, welcome back, man. Back-to-back week, sir.
True. It almost feels like I'm a regular, almost as if I was being asked to replace EJ.
This is true. Yes, it would appear that way, right? But no, man. Welcome back, dude. Always a pleasure having you on. Look, just enjoy your perspective on things. I think you provide a different perspective that many of us don't have, considering your background, your experience. So, it's always great having you on. And like I said, I am not. Not to get overly political here, but I'm not, I don't know, man. I'm just, it's kind of sad to see another school shooting, more children killed, teachers. I mean, gee, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's unfortunate. I don't know. I feel it's just, I feel like every time this happens, it's like a broken record and then nothing gets done. Nothing changes. I'll be frank. I don't have much admiration for leadership right now within the federal government.
I would apply that label very, very, very loosely at this point in time. It's I was thinking today, and people, and I'm not going to throw in on one side or the other, but obviously lots of discussion on Twitter about, what can be done or what should be done. And I guess my feeling is look, I get that determining a way forward is difficult, but that's what I vote leaders for. If I'm voting to put somebody in DC who quite frankly can't do anything more than I could, then why am I voting to put that person in place to get paid to not do anything? They are challenging and troubling issues to contend with, but they are not things to be met with by complacency. And that's where I just am thoroughly confused by the state of affairs after the last several years.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I'm in your, I agree with you 110%. It's like, we vote for you to do a job, and you haven't done anything. Like, this is clearly a problem, right? Like, this isn't just an isolated incident now, right? There's clearly a problem here in this country with mass shootings. Like, I don't know. I had to have a conversation with my children last night about this. And I had to explain to them, if someone shows up shooting your school, hide. If you're outside, run to the woods, zig and zag. And my kids are looking at me like I'm crazy. Daddy, why would someone want to shoot kids? I mean, what?
I saw a tweet today, and the guy was, I think he said his 11-year-old, he said he was sitting crying, and his 11-year-old came up and said, "Hey, Daddy, what are you crying about?" And he I think asked him, are you crying about the shooting or whatever? And the guy said, "Yeah, it's a tough time." And the kid said, "Dad, don't worry about it. We train for this." And the guy was like the kid's 11 years old, right? And his response to this is that we train for this, which just speaks to kind of a little bit of the numbing and chilling effect that has gone on, and to where it's become kind of natural and second state. Now, I will readily admit, as a Cold War kid, we did nuclear drills like all the
Yeah.
time. That was
I
something
remember.
that was
Yeah.
readily drilled into my head, and quite frankly has kind of framed a lot of my outlook on life, right? That experience, like the lens through which I view, you know, movies. I remember, seeing, uh, Red Dawn as a kid, and
I was
then
just about to
the
say Red
remake
Dawn.
years
Yeah.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, we've I don't want to say we've always lived with threats, but there have been times in history, in Western world history, in U.S. history, where there are threats that have arisen of a critical nature that have impacted levels of our society, down to children, and that's a thing. That's a thing to be considered and thought of, and to be taken into consideration and for people to process.
Yeah. No, definitely. And again, it's just I remember Columbine like it was yesterday, and Columbine was one too many, and then it just kept going, and there's 27 school shootings this year. And I just I'm not convinced that we have the right leaders. I'm just not convinced we have the right leadership in place now. And I saw Joe Biden's thing. I'm like, dude, you're the fucking president of the United States. Do something. Do something. I saw a Democratic congressman. I'm not trying to pick sides here. Who's like, what are we doing here? We're not doing our jobs. We're standing out. Do something. Like, it's the same thing over and over again. Mitch McConnell, oh, we pray for the kids, the parents. Mitch, you sound like a fucking broken record. Do something. Ted Cruz, oh, my wife, we, do something. I'm tired of hearing it. Do something. Those are empty. Those condolences are empty. They mean nothing unless you do something. It's like, like people need a vote. I don't know. I don't know what else to do or say. It's just like, and now, of course, what's happening? What's up, B Money? By the way, I'm sorry, man. I'm ranting here, B. What's going on, man?
Happening.
And of course, what's happening is, I'm seeing the tried and true scapegoat: video games. Here we go. Violent video games. Who was it? Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that's her name. Basically tweeted that, oh yeah, it's these video games, these violent video games, and people taking drugs for mental illness and illegal drugs and video games. That's the problem. It's not guns. Okay, well, I guess she failed the homework assignment when she failed to realize that people in Europe, people in Canada play the same video games that we're playing. I don't see any mass shootings there. But again, it's like, what was it? Rock and roll was first, then it was rap music, now it's video games. There's always a scapegoat.
Right. Don't forget Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, and Dungeons and Dragons, yes. I remember growing up, Dungeons and Dragons, that's Satan, that's the devil. What? Really? I just... Here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Feeling hopeless, spending hours in solitude playing video... Okay, she said, feeling hopeless, spending hours in solitude daily playing video games, that mentally train them to kill people, and likely taking psychiatric drugs or recreational drugs, or both, is a common deadly recipe for mass murder. These are our leaders that are saying this dumb shit. Again, people play the same video games in Europe and Canada. Hell, they even play them in Mexico. They play them in South America. They play them in Alaska. They play them... Well, Alaska's part of the U.S., but point is they play them everywhere else too, right? People take psychiatric drugs elsewhere. People take recreational drugs. They play video games elsewhere in the world that we play. They're not having the same problems in Europe. They're not having the same problems north of the border in Canada. I don't know. I just, as a father, I'm frustrated, extremely frustrated, and actually scared.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly difficult to go to work every day. And I mean, and my lifestyle is I work a 2-hour commute away from home, right? So if something ever goes down here, it's a significant thing for me to get back, right? And that's assuming that traffic is moving the whole time. So it's an incredibly difficult thing to go to work, right, every day, wondering, if worrying, that day is going to be the day.
Yeah, it's like, and I got to be honest with you, like I've gotten to the point now where I feel like, growing up in this country, we're like, you're at an early age, you're taught, oh, this is a great country. This is, this is the best country on the planet. I'm like, now that I'm older, I'm like, bullshit. We can't even keep our children safe. Like, how is that representative of the best country? I don't get. I just don't get it. I'm like, again, as a parent, it's scary. I gotta talk to my children about this. I gotta hope they remember what I've said to them because it could save their lives.
Yeah, and it's just a general. I mean, hopefully we're gonna talk about some uplifting things here in a little bit as we you're going to talk about video games. But I mean, just in general, it's been a pretty crappy series of conversations to have had. If you've been a parent, for the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, having to talk to them about stuff during the pandemic and and then violence and race riots and yada yada yada. So.
Yeah, and well, and I also bring this up too because now, video game related. I mean, we see the scapegoating now. Video games, right? Violent video games, causing mass shootings. No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, and again, and one of the things I'll say, for people who are like, I guess the most problematic thing I'll say again, try not to declare for one side or the other is just this notion that it's acceptable to do nothing. That's the thing that I find kind of flabbergasting. And what I find frustrating from how is government expending their time and expending their resources. We have all sorts of Twitter commentary and and all sorts of gymnastics going on about pulling the thread on Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. But it seems like people don't have time to lift a finger, to figure out the other stuff. That's what's worrying to me from an expenditure of resources perspective.
No, I would agree with you 110%. 110%. So, all right. Sorry about the rant, everyone. I just, what's up, Forte?
What up, though, man? Don't be apologizing for rants like that. Rants like that are deserved.
What's going on, man? How are you today, Forte?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm trying to get BG in here. Hold on a sec here.
I was like,
yeah, and I'm sorry. I am going to add one other thing because somebody in the chat mentioned something that I also feel is it's weird to me, the desire to be inactive when a lot of these things, the vast majority of these things, go down in public schools, and I'm like, so if there were a rash of these things happening at private schools where all the rich kids go, then I wonder, how politicians would respond. I hazard to feel that the response would be different.
I bet you it would if it was one of their children at a private school that got gunned down.
Yeah, I think like it's a lot of all this stuff that's just been happening like super consistent, and we had it happen here in Michigan earlier this year and stuff. But this is like the first time that I was like, man, it's like the first time I truly was like, I don't really want my kid to go to school. It's just it's so baffling at where we are with this situation in times. You know, you're supposed to be able to, it's like a guarantee that you drop your kid off and you will see your kid when you come home, when they come home from school. And this is like the first time that I was like super worried, like, man, this is kind of just overwhelming at this point. So thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that was involved in that had something happen to them or just was experiencing this situation. But literally, I it's no words for the kind of sadness that's kind of happening throughout this country and how leadership is basically kind of handling it.
And I should tack on it. I know I keep saying I'm going to drop it. I'm going to tack this one other thing.
It's
and
hard to drop this though, man.
Yeah, and it's not just. I mean, I feel like what's happening in schools is the most acute thing, and the thing that, like, if Great Scott, if you were going to do nothing, at least the impact on children should charge you to action. But it's, you know, it's going out in public, it's movie theaters, it's churches, right? And I mean, and we, you know, and I always, despite the fact that some of these are horrific things, I always like looking at like the impacts on society and how I respond and the behaviors that they drive in people. And one of the things is, since that like event went down at like the Batman movie, or I think it was the Batman movie like a few years ago.
Yeah, it's
like
when they got the canisters in the smoke canisters. People thought it was like part of the movie.
Right. That has literally changed my behavior in where I sit when I go to a theater.
Oh, me too.
And particularly changes how I situate myself when I go with my family. And like my wife, who I love her, but sometimes there's aspects of how I've come up through life and things that I've been exposed to and how she came up, like we're not quite on the same, you know, sheet of music. But I'm like, no, we don't sit right next to the door, right to the entrance to the theater. We sit in an area where we are tactically have a straight target line to the rear exits, right, and where we can actually get there by, you know, unfortunately, I hate to say, with people in between us and the actual door entrance to the theater. I'm like, so, you know, no, we're not just picking where we're sitting based on convenience or based on who's not sitting there, right? So, it's just weird. It's weird, crazy times.
Hey, Forte, I gotta check your Twitter DM real quick, man.
Twitter DM?
Yeah, give me a sec here. I gotta
Twitter.
For some reason, I'm not able to pull up BG, so I can see if you could do it on. I'm gonna give you his Discord ID. See if you can do it. If you could send him an invite.
All right.
I just DM'd you in Twitter. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Game Logic. It's changed the way I fucking go to the movie theaters, man. That's for sure. So. All right, let me grab this super chat here. We've got Viper XT with a $5 Canadian super chat. Says, if you can't get a hold of the guns, these shootings won't happen as easily. Thank you for that super chat, sir. That is one point of view that has been going out there that maybe there should be no guns. Jeff B. Gaming says guns don't kill people. People kill people. Making strict gun laws don't fix the issues. I disagree with you 110% of that, Jeff B. Gaming. The guy who got the guns, got him like last week. Walked in, got him. You know, I mean,
But what's stopping them from buying them off the street?
That's true. Well, that's the other issue too. So
that's true.
That's why some people have argued maybe we don't need guns, or, you know, look, the countries that have enacted very strict gun laws don't have this issue. So I know people like to blame mental health, but these folks, a lot of these folks that have committed these mass shootings have bought guns legally, and have done so relatively easily. I mean, I don't know. Call me crazy, but the countries that have strict gun laws don't have this issue. Is there something there? Should we explore that? Maybe, because whatever we're doing just isn't working.
All right, he got it. He's in the Discord now.
Oh, he's okay. Thank you for that, Forte.
No problem.
I appreciate you. All right, let's change the role. We got to change the role to. Here we go. BRAP guest list. All right, BG should be there. He is. There's BG. What's up, BG?
Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, that first link wasn't working for some reason.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Enrique don't know what he's doing.
That's why I have Forte, my BRAP admin.
Appreciate it for it.
Hey, BG, got a quick question for you, man. Oh, first of all, welcome back to BRAP. So it's been a very long time since we've had you on, so appreciate you coming on. Are you surprised by the scapegoating of video games causing people to be violent?
I mean, a little bit, because eventually you would think like they would be like, we can't use this as a scapegoat anymore. Like it's not, 97. It's not 1997, and there's some research done, and people actually and there's the internet is a lot more developed, so we can't just people can look this stuff up, so we can't just like throw out this this claim with no base. So I'm a little surprised just based on that. Like, so it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's interesting, like I said this earlier, that like other countries are playing the same video games that we are, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In Europe, and they're not having mass shootings like this. We've had 27 mass shootings, I think. I don't know if it's school shootings or mass shootings so far in 2022, but we just had a mass shooting, the week before at the supermarket, right?
And I just like, that's why I hate the conversation, people have on Twitter, whether it's, it's always the debate whether the guns are the problem or mental health is the problem. I'm like who cares about this argument? I don't care what the real problem is. I just care what the solution is. Mm-hmm. Because there's people have mental health issues everywhere. Right? People, there's video games everywhere. There's mentally ill people everywhere. I mean, listen, you can do the process of elimination. I'm not going to argue with somebody, about what the real problem is. But listen, you can do the process of elimination. And to me, listen, I've never owned a gun, but like, I don't. The one question I'd be really one to ask like an avid gun owner, the ones that have assault rifles, what are you protecting yourself from that you need an assault rifle? Like, that's a genuine question, right? Like, because what is it that you're protecting yourself from that like a handgun or something else can't give you? You know what I'm saying? Like, because like what is the like actual likely threat? Because I'm okay with people protecting their home, right? Having something for their house and everything like that. But like, what are you actually regularly encountering that is a threat to you that you feel like it's a justification to protect, any type of law that whether it's a law or background check, whatever, that puts a restriction? Like, are aliens coming to your door or some type of mutant? BG, like that's the part that I honestly don't understand.
In some people's mind, aliens are coming, and they're from the southern part of the United States, if you know what I mean. And they look like me, and that's the people. I mean, seriously. I mean, and look, this guy's Latino, just committed this mass shooting, and I already know what's going to happen. We know the rhetoric that's going to be happening. I'm sorry. Go ahead, BG.
Yeah, no, I just, I would really like the answer from a gun owner. Like, because I would almost bet most of the people who are like avid gun owners that have like assault rifles have probably never been in a situation where they had to use it to protect themselves. So why are they so like avid and like so defensive about their guns? That's honestly my question. I personally don't get it.
And I'm a gun owner. I'm a weapon owner. I own 3 handguns. And I would agree with you. One of the things that I commented on today, and that I always think about, because I always love going back to the legal precedents of this and all the arguments that come up in people attempting to point to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to defend a lot of these things. And I'm like, the notion of enacting and maintaining our right to bear arms was so that we would have a capability of defending ourselves against a government that would try and take forceful advantage of us. And so my problem in fixing that in the reality of 2022 is, look, if the government is going to forcefully choose to do something, they're not going to show up at your door with a set of equipment from which you could defend yourself with an assault rifle. If the government chooses to show up with a tank or an AH-64 Apache, they will do so.
Yeah.
So the notion that these weapons are being maintained so that people can defend themselves against an unrighteous government is I think a little overly. I think that they're, people point to the right to bear arms, and I would say, I would contend that if you really think about that, what you really have is a right to bear small arms, and then you really need to think about, does this cachet of small arms that I have with me really going to be effective about doing anything?
No.
As somebody else mentioned on Twitter today, that's like, well, it's just this mentality that people want to go out in a blaze of glory, and I'm like, okay, that's a reason to talk trash at the sports bar or on Twitter. It is not a reason to fail to do anything from a legislative perspective, right, about an endemic problem that we have right in the country.
Yeah,
so it's just, I don't know,
because
interesting.
when the amendment was made, like, listen, I'm not a historian, but didn't they still have guns where they had to literally
muskets.
pour gunpowder down
Muskets.
the goddamn
Right.
Like, and it took like what, a whole 3 minutes to reload the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
For your most skilled musketmen.
Yeah. No, you bring up a great point. And I promise we'll get to video games here in a second. But you great point, Game Logic. Like, it's this mindset of defend my, because I've seen that. If the government, or if we need to overthrow the government, like listen here, you're not going to fucking overthrow the United States government. They're going to roll up if manpower starts going down, like if they send out the militia, or not the militia, the what do they call it, the National Guardmen go down. If they send in special forces, they go down. Guess what's coming next? Full on fucking artillery, right? Tanks, Apaches. I mean, yeah, you're at that point, like, what are you defending yourself from, right? Anyhow, yeah. All right, let's get to video games. So I did want to talk about there was some information coming out of Asia with Sony's PlayStation Plus, and them like charging people extra money who have bought discounted versions of PlayStation or different PlayStation tiers. That has since been updated, though. Give me a sec here. Let me pull this up here. It was Ask PlayStation on Twitter said, due to a technical error, players in Asia who have previously purchased a PlayStation Plus membership at a discount have been incorrectly charged for their upgrade pricing. And that was the article that came out early in the week about PlayStation overly charging more for upgrading. So they're saying that this is a glitch. They were incorrectly charged for their upgrade pricing. This error has been fixed, and impacted players will receive a credit. We thank you for your patience. So, I'm just gonna throw this out. Is anyone buying this as a technical error? I mean, what do you guys think?
No, I don't think so, because there was an actual reply from customer service to them explaining what it was, that they had to pay the difference. That doesn't sound like a technical error if you have a full explanation of why they need to pay the difference. And I don't know, that just doesn't sound like a technical error. Would you be accidentally overcharged or something like that? Like, it would happen on its own, but they had a full explanation for it. So I don't know. I'm not really buying it. I feel like they were kind of testing the waters, see what people's reaction to it would be.
You want to know what the technical error was? They let all of their retail reps go. They were supposed to pull all of those cards off of store shelves, and they didn't all get pulled. So the technical error was the fact that they didn't do their job good enough to make sure those cards weren't available for people to go out and buy. So now they're retroactively telling people like, oh, you weren't supposed to have your hands on this stuff, so we're about to make you pay what you're supposed to pay. That was the technical error, and that's not even a technical error. That's a failure of making sure you do your job correctly, and they're holding consumers responsible for it by making them pay for something that they shouldn't have to pay for. But that's how it is right now, I guess.
You know what? That's a great
Yeah.
point for you. I didn't even think about that. How, I mean, our good buddy Chrono was a PlayStation rep, would actually frequent your store. And
He pulled all mine off the store in January. When
Yeah.
he came into, I didn't even know about it. It was something that got announced that day. And he just happened to be visiting my store, and I was at work, and he came in and said, "Hey, they just canceled all these." He said, "What do you want me to do with them?" I said, "Well, if they said you could throw them away, just throw them away." And he literally went through my whole store and threw all mine away, and I haven't seen one since then. But from the reports, it seems like a lot of people are getting these things from like places like Walmart or like mom and pop shops that normally don't have frequent that type of communication back and forth with Sony and stuff, and that's where people are getting this stuff from, like CVS and stuff like that. So it's just unfortunate that that's the case. But I was thinking they were going to allow people to keep like the ones that they were saying like, oh, these fell through the crack, we're going to let people keep those and we're just going to honor it. But no, they're going back and saying, no, even if you put the code in already, we're going to retroactively make you tell you exactly how much is going to be in the difference to pay that price. And I think that's the bad part of it. I don't really have a problem with them doing the whole, like, if you have a card and you put it in after the fact, like say you already have the card and you can't put it in until after the service launch, because Microsoft does that now. They have a system in place where if you bought like Xbox Live or Xbox Live and you want to add it to your account, it doesn't give you the full membership that you got. You won't get a year of Xbox Live if you have Game Pass Ultimate. It would only count as like 12 months. It basically counts as a subscription that you already have. But that's not what Sony's doing. They're making it so you literally can't put it in if you have it, and then when you can't put it in, it's super upsetting. But it's how it is, man.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you, Forte. Anyone else got thoughts on this, on the Sony thing, on the PlayStation Now?
I mean, it's good that they, are, pretty much fixing it. But, I never understood how they would know that you got it at a discount in the first place. That's the thing that was confusing to me, because I bought, PlayStation cards off of CD Keys.
Uh-huh.
The website where people mostly buy PC games. So I'm like, how would Sony know I would that I would get that at like $35? How would they be able to know that?
Well, they
That's
don't
the only
know.
thing.
Well,
Yeah,
they
that's
don't
the
know.
thing, like-
Well, they don't know that's what you did. They're just taking the overall value of that card, since it's not part of the service. They don't even really have that service anymore. They rolled it into one other service. They're not saying that you got it for cheaper. They're just saying the value of that card compared to the service that we're launching doesn't add up to be the same value. So we're going to give you the value of what that card is in conjunction to what service you're going to be signed into. If you already have PlayStation Now and you already have PlayStation Plus, you're going to be in that platinum tier instantly the moment it launches. So if you try to put a PlayStation Now card in or a PlayStation Plus card in at that time, that card is only worth $60. Well, how much is $60 worth in PlayStation for the PlayStation Premium tier? Well, it's only worth $60 worth. So that means you're only going to get 3 months worth of something that used to cost a year. So that's what they're doing. They're saying we're going to basically say we're going to guarantee you $60, but we're not going to honor the whole year subscription because the value isn't the same compared to the value that it was before, and that's what they're doing.
Okay, got it.
I always say, do the consumer solid. That's it. Just do them a solid. But again, I'm not behind the books. I'm not making the decision. So, but go ahead, B. You were going to say something, man.
No, Forte basically said it, so all good, man.
All right, cool. Game Logic, any thoughts on this, man?
I'm all over the place. I mean, I think the honest answer is, for me, because these are things that I sometimes tend to not be price sensitive about. If I were actually signing up for the service, if I had made the decision that the service was had hit the minimum threshold of value for me and I wanted to be in on it for the experience, I would just pay it, right? And I probably wouldn't ask. And I mean, I've passed through the point in life where I used to run around and get these cards, and now I'm more about convenience over price. And I'm like, if I could just turn the console on and punch a button and get the thing that I want, then I just do that. The thing about this for me is, as you and I kind of talked about, and I guess it's a little less than I thought it was, but at the end of the day, this is still Sony making a thing that didn't have to be a thing, right? And putting their foot in it in a way that just caused a bunch of kerfuffle that was unnecessary, in the way they handled it. So again, maybe not as bad as I originally thought and felt, but just with some people is going to leave a bad taste in their mouth. And it's going to create some hesitation for other people who are looking to get into the service, and it will probably cause them to hold back until all these kind of wrinkles and crinkles are smoothed out, before they jump in feet first.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to like the messaging. I think, at least for me, I think the messaging for Sony hasn't been, at least this generation, hasn't been as solid, I think, as it was last generation. There's been some gaffes here and there with their messaging, right? So I certainly, I think this is probably a case of that as well. But yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like this was a glitch, and they've kind of they've corrected it. So hopefully the launch of the new PlayStation Plus will go smoothly, and we'll see what happens. So go ahead.
Just to backtrack, just one quick second. Just if what Forte's saying is right, I guess I'm being a little overly anal about being technically accurate. It wasn't so much a glitch, but it's a great case study. It was an instance of a business decision being made that wasn't coupled with a necessary software decision. And so if there were cards running around uncontrolled that shouldn't have been out in the wild, there was nothing done on the software side to account for that. And then you wound up, when those cards were used, having this incorrect, as they label it, pricing result occur, because they didn't go into the system and do things that should have been done in order to prevent it from happening in the first place, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. All right, I want to move to the leaks of a PlayStation 5 Pro and like an Xbox, I guess, whatever, revision of an Xbox Series console. That was apparently leaked by TCL, the TV manufacturer that King David likes to make fun of a lot. If you listen to the IOP, yes, he shames people for owning TCLs. I think, BG, did you comment on that earlier today about shaming King shaming TCLs? I think, did I see that?
Yeah,
correctly?
Yeah. He was the first thing I thought of when I seen that. It was
Yeah,
he's probably that they could probably sue him for like damages and money lost.
He's got people. When you walk into Best Buy, if you heard Lord King, he says you never buy the TVs on the floor that you walk in. As soon as you walk in the door, they're sitting there on the floor. You never buy those TVs. He's like, I get my TVs from the back. So yeah, he's probably cost him quite a few sales. So BG. So so TCL. Doing like a slideshow presentation, there was a image of PS5 Pro and a new Xbox Pro console. We're gonna call it Xbox Pro console, releasing sometime in 2023 or 2024. I don't think 2023 is likely. I could be wrong. I think 2024 is probably more realistic, especially with chip shortages, things like that. What do you guys think about these Pro consoles being leaked? You think it's too early to be having this discussion? I mean, look, these consoles just launched. What? This is going to be, oh my God, year 3 coming up this November? Is my math right? Yeah.
This is the third holiday.
That's right. Sony's kind of they've had their inventory issues are well known. I mean, they've been having issues keeping the PlayStation 5s on retail shelves. The Xbox a little bit, they're a little more readily available with the Series S and Series X consoles. My one criticism of Microsoft, I'm still waiting for that banger, if you will, on the Series consoles that we haven't gotten yet. They haven't had a Series only exclusive so far this gen, and we have conversations of a pro model of that particular platform. But BG, what do you think, man? Do you think this is too early for them to be thinking about maybe or releasing these consoles, considering the shortages in PlayStation 5, chip shortages that are apparently going to be going through next year? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't actually believe TCL knows anything. I think they were just taking a complete guess based on just history of previous generations. But I don't think they have any insight or any knowledge. I think they just kind of wanted to put that on their little demonstration and everything like that. But if it is true, I would think the end of 2024, like a holiday 2024, I wouldn't be shocked if I guess they're somehow managed to make another SKU of a console when they already have shortages. I guess maybe by using, I don't know if it's possible to use some different pieces that make it a little bit easier to manufacture, but it wouldn't be 2023. I believe it will be 2024. But the pandemic and these shortages have pushed everything back, and I think this generation is also going to be longer because of it. So maybe even 2025. But I'm not completely convinced we're going to get these mid-gen refreshes. But I mean, it would be strange, even with shortages. It would be strange not to get a mid-gen refresh because we've got them the last two gens. So it'll be weird not to get one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we'll eventually get one. I'm just not. I don't see 2024. I just don't see that being. I could be wrong. Just don't think it being realistic. But yeah, Forte, you being in the retail space, man, what do you think about this?
It's interesting. I think that a lot of people are looking at it because the generation is going to get extended due to the fact that stock is just ridiculously out of whack right now. We are getting PlayStations more in a little more consistently. It's more like twice a month versus, every other month. But it's still not enough to meet consumer demand. Xbox is a little bit more prevalent when it comes to being able to have them in stock in store. But I think it has. I think we're still going to get these. I just don't think it's going to be next year. I think 2024, 25 at the latest. I think especially Microsoft has basically said that they were going to always basically keep and have the most powerful console and stuff. And in order to be able to do that, you're always going to be having something in R&D when it comes to mid-gen, brand new gen and everything like that. They want to keep up with PCs and stuff because that's kind of the ecosystem that they want to tie themselves to. So it's more interesting when it comes to PlayStation. I know people are going to say, well, Xbox hasn't released games to really take advantage of the one we have now, but people still go out and buy these systems even with that being the case, so not saying that it's a right thing, but when they look at it, they're like, okay, well, we can still sell a bunch of systems and people don't even buy it. We don't even have games for people to buy right now because they're basically buying third-party stuff at this point. So I think in their eyes, they're saying, yo, this is still a good move for us to do, especially since they already put the R&D into effect. They're actually doing it. PlayStation, on the other hand, I think they just want to maximize their profit and stuff when it comes to that. PlayStation 4 is kind of falling by the wayside a little bit more after they said what they were going to do about extending the life of that. And once they don't have that to supplement anymore, I think it's just going to be PlayStation 5 for the foreseeable future. But I think it's a good move, but I don't think it's going to happen to 2025 at the earliest.
Yeah, let me ask you, Forte, with you mentioned you're getting more it sounds like a steadier drip of PlayStation 5 consoles.
Yeah.
Are you getting them? You said you're getting them twice a month now. Are you getting more units?
Yeah, I have a shipment coming in on Saturday. What is it's coming out on Saturday. So
okay, and what could you say? How many?
17? No, 20.
Oh wow, okay.
I was going to say the exact amount, but I'm holding some for some people.
Oh
yeah, so 17 actually, but 20 is what we're actually getting.
Gotcha. Okay. And those things are going pretty quickly. As soon as you're getting them in, they're gone that day, right?
Oh yeah, those things will be gone. I already have a line outside the door. As soon as we open it up, it's people been calling over the course of the last couple of days trying to see what we're gonna have available. They're still doing bundles only. And the reason they do them is because people buy them. They don't really do bundles on Xboxes no more because Xboxes are more readily available. So the only thing they really tie to those are gift cards, like a $50 GameStop gift card, where the PlayStation bundle is usually anywhere from like $750 to $850. Usually comes with 2 games, extra controller, headset, and stuff like that. And we don't really get no pushback on it. People buy it because they want the system, and they can either trade the games in or sell the games on eBay, do whatever the heck they want to do. But those systems sell no matter what, at whatever price. I think people just are happy that they're getting systems with stuff for the price that they're going to pay online for some of them versus just getting the system for like $800-900 like buying it online. But this is the first time this month we got them, so this month has kind of been a little slow. But last month we had 2 drops, so this is the first drop of this month, and I think it's mostly due to the fact that it's kind of tied to the days of play that just came out today. So a lot of their games are on sale too, to coincide with this release is pretty much world nationwide when it comes to them releasing at GameStop. Gotcha.
Yeah. And by the way, just want to say something. Skywalker, Flight Simulator is not a video game.
It is a video game.
It's not a video game. Microsoft has already said it's not.
It is a video game.
It is not a video game.
That you can use a controller.
It's not a video game.
You can hook up a yoke to it.
Nope.
It's not a video game.
Hey, BG, do you think Flight Simulator is a video game?
It's 77% sim, 33% game.
It's. I mean, technically it's a video game, but it's hard to call a lot of these simulators.
We're gonna have to mute BG.
Video games like Flight Simulator. Honestly, I feel like it would be more of a training program. Can't real pilots actually use that?
Yeah, Flight Simulator pilots actually use Flight Simulator. Forte's arguing that's a video game. Microsoft themselves have said no, it's a simulator, not a video game.
It is a simulator, but
so Microsoft's lying then.
Too. Do you trust corporations?
I trust that Microsoft knows what they're talking about with their products.
Wait, you trust them when it comes to
I trust them. I trust them. I trust them.
Jim Ryan when he came out and said,
no, let me finish.
You trusted Phil Spencer when he came out and said,
I trust them.
Forte for next gen Xbox. You trust all that?
I'm going to mute you here in a minute. I trust them.
Okay.
And how they label their own products.
Okay. And guess what? When you come into a GameStop or a Walmart, where is Flight Sim at? In the video game section.
Because there isn't a simulation section in Walmart, sir. But again, Microsoft has labeled their product. This is Microsoft's product. Microsoft has said this is a simulation.
What does Amazon has it at? I bet you Amazon has it set as a game, doesn't it? Right. I bet it says the word game.
We're not going to debate this again. We debated this last week, but again,
don't stop fight. Stop trying to fight losing battles.
Oh, by the way, the creator of Flight Simulator in an interview with Major Nelson said it's not a video game.
Okay, sure. I believe you.
All right. Anyhow, we're going to move on. Sorry about that, everyone in the live chat. I just see that nonsense in the chat. So about Flight Simulator. All right. B Money, man. So what do you think, man? 2024, 25? Too early?
I think it'd be 24 probably if they can. I think they're going to a smaller chip for the next upgrades or whatever. Because I think they're going to a smaller chip anyway. And once they can kind of get production in line, so if they can go to a smaller chipset, then 24 would probably be the goal that they're trying to hit. That's kind of 4 years into generation. The production of games are really flowing at that point. So you kind of got to, have a reason to, show what the advantages of having a new console are out, having a new console out there. So, and by then PSVR will be out as well. So, you know what I mean? You can, play up the fact that, it's probably gonna be more powerful, give you more processing power and all this other nonsense.
Better VR experience, yeah.
Yeah, they'll try to spew out there. So, 24 is probably the goal, but if it falls into 25, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, yeah, and I know I can guess Game Logic's takes on this. Game Logic, you probably could care less because you play on the best platform right now, and that's PC, right?
That is relatively correct. So one, I do believe that a hardware refresh is coming. I don't know why in the world they would have done one last generation and have that not stick, and be the way forward of the future. I think processor performance and GPU performance is moving at a pace now where it just makes sense. I think regardless of whenever they put them out, what we saw last generation is they don't necessarily have great uptake until there is a game or a set of games that gives people a reason to upgrade. And I would say more so it feels like the impetus for that is more so on the PlayStation side. I feel like Xbox consumers are the type that are closer akin to PC gamers where they're just going to upgrade just for the sake of upgrading. But with the PlayStation, I feel like the Pro came out, but it didn't really start picking up speed until, some games came along where, buying that upgrade really made sense. But I think more it's just the natural course and way of the industry and how it's going to go with the Microsoft and PlayStation platform. So it's just a natural course. When it drops, I don't know. Forte knows that I don't agree with him that this generation is going to get extended. It was very comical how he just casually floated that during his conversation. But
you love it, don't you?
If I was the type that didn't pay attention, I would have missed it. But I
like you.
So last time we got what it was in the 5th holiday season of the generation that we got the update for at least Xbox. And I want to say, did PlayStation come out?
PlayStation was 4.
The year before?
Yeah, 4
years.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it'll be that. As to why TCL would have had that information, the only thing I can guess is that they do some ODM work where they produce some other electronics for other brands that aren't necessarily their own. So they do have. So a lot of these companies will distribute manufacturing out to multiple companies, and that's a way for them to mitigate risk. So if there's a problem with production output from one or the other, then they can increase from the other, or at least if there's a problem at one, it doesn't wreck their whole supply plans. I don't think TCL is one of those. I think they mostly get produced at Foxconn and I think another company called Flexicon or something like that. However, the Chinese manufacturing is incredibly incestuous with executives who occupy positions at multiple companies, and so it wouldn't be surprising to me that TCL would know that there were production plans for that console. And there may be something around, what might be going on with the HDMI spec and whatnot and things that have to be done with their television line that would prompt them to be, aware of those new consoles coming out. So
yeah, go ahead, Game Logic.
Definitely coming out, not certain when. And I'm really trying to leave this whole topic of Microsoft Flight Simulator alone. And you guys arguing doesn't bug me, but then where the chat picks up and runs away with it to incredibly fantastical places where I start getting bothered. But I will believe you.
That's why Enrique does it.
No, that's not why I do it. I mean, the chat, the chat
he wants that chat engagement, and he knows that's going to bring it.
No, that's not why I do it. Yeah, but it's interesting. Like it's devolved into Forza versus GT7 now. I don't know how that happened, but anyhow, Game Logic. I was, as you were, talking about the PlayStation 5, Xbox Pro, whatever you want to call it. I was thinking like, I think for me, like I don't know if I would like I did last year. I got the PS4 Pro.
Stop.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to upgrade, and that you're going to be DMing Forte and I, acting as if you're agonizing about whether you should upgrade or not, knowing damn well that you're going to upgrade.
And the moment I take a picture and send him a screenshot of one, he's going to say how much.
You know what, Forte? I will neither confirm nor deny that happening.
The only real question will be whether or not you buy a 4000 series RTX card before that or after.
No, I no. There's no way I'm getting a 4000.
Bro, which one comes out first? That's the question.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I would get a 4000 series card. I just got the 3070, so I don't. You know what? I just got to stay away from Game Logic and Gaming Forte, and then I'll be okay.
Because, bruh, 2 weeks after you got your 3070 and I bought a 3070 Ti, you were asking me whether or not you needed to upgrade.
I was, yeah. I think Forte got a 3080 if I'm not mistaken too. So, but I just need to stay away from you two because, yeah. So, I probably will upgrade. So
we're bad for each other because you got your 3070 and I had my GPU upgrades were not planned until I think next year. I think I was just planning on upgrading power supplies this year, but yeah, I've upgraded every PC in the studio because of you.
That's too funny. So, all right, everyone on the panel, is everyone? Probably not Game Logic. Everyone going to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 Pro or whatever the Xbox Series Pro is called?
Yeah. I always want the best, so why not? I always end up trading. If you trade in, what do you have? You usually end up paying like maybe $200, $250.
Yeah.
Forte would know.
That's why you do it.
Yeah, and Forte, I would imagine they're going to give you some kind of incentive. That's the reason why I got.
You do it for future proof yourself. Why it's worth pay $200 or $250 to get the new stuff, and then when that new stuff has something else new to come out, you always have the newer thing to trade in towards the new thing.
So, I mean, for those of us who have been gaming right since the 70s, 80s, whatever. I mean, realize and recognize, for people listening in the chat who are newer gamers that console generations now are twice as long as they used to be. And so we used to be upgrading at the 4-year point anyway.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's actually a great point, Game Logic. Like the 4 to 5 year point is kind of when new consoles come out. B, I heard you say you would upgrade?
Yeah, for sure.
I know you're getting like 3 PS5 Pros, B. I already know, man.
Oh, man. He going to sell.
Yeah,
he going to put 2 on Twitter.
I bought my upgraded my kid's TV to the 48-inch C1 or CX.
Okay.
Oh, no, the C1. The C1. So
you got the C1. Okay.
Yeah, they got the. My older boys got the 48-inch C1s in their room.
Nice, man. So you got the OLEDs. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No TCLs.
No TCLs, man.
Yeah, I gotta say that C1 is woof. When I got it, wow, game changer. So, speaking of game changer or changing, so there was. I'm sure you guys saw this on Twitter. A couple influencers, whatnot, have said they were gonna unsubscribe to Game Pass, and for whatever reasons, Game Pass maybe not meeting their expectations. Kotaku ran with this article. Good old Kotaku. I think they even BG. I think they even included Kit's move in that article. I think they quoted him, if I'm not mistaken. But anyhow, yeah. So Kotaku ran with this article. It was kind of like, people are upset about Kotaku, and anyhow, slow news cycle. This is what media sites do, especially in the 24/7 news cycle. But yeah, I mean, there's and I would think it was Gene Park was one of them. He writes for the Washington Post. He writes for video games for the Washington Post. What do you guys think about this? Because some people are kind of making this out to be like a probably bigger deal than I think it really was. With some of these influencers unsubscribing. BG, since Kitsbu was in the article, I'll go with you. The question: what do you think, man? Do you think this is kind of blown out of proportion a little bit with some of these content creators unsubscribing, or?
Yeah. So I'm cool with Gene. And I don't. It's funny because like he didn't necessarily do anything wrong, right? If this was just him, if he said this and nobody else said anything, it wouldn't be a problem. It's when other people followed suit and was like, yeah, I'm unsubscribing from Game Pass as well. It just made it look like this like movement that Gene started, right? This whole, this discourse, like, and I don't really think that he caused that many people to unsubscribe from. I don't think it's this mass unsubscribing from Game Pass from people, right? But it's because it was like 3 or three known people, I guess, people with check marks saying it, that made it a big deal because it was Gene, Tony Polanco. I don't think Paris didn't say he was unsubscribing, but he said he understands why people would unsubscribe, and I think a few other people. So that's what made it a big deal is these people with followings said it. If somebody with no following said it, it wouldn't have been a big deal at all. So yeah, it's the news about it was probably bigger than the actual impact it had, because even though I do think the lack of first party games right now available to put in Game Pass will lead to a drop in subscribers, I don't think it's going to be anything like gigantic or huge. It'll slow it down. It'll probably drop. It was pretty entertaining though. It was more entertaining than anything else. But it did show that people definitely mainly subscribe to Game Pass for the AAA games, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fine. Like if I'm not subscribed to Game Pass, but if I was subscribed, that's what I'll be subscribed to for. And that Game Pass and that library, that library is to me that's just a backlog simulator. Like I don't necessarily look at adding more games to my backlog as a good thing. I don't have a backlog because of just how I game. Like if I don't get to a game, then in my mind I'm just like I don't get to it. I mentally don't like having this burden of having this long list of games that I have to get to, because in my mind that makes it seem like a chore rather than something I want to do. So I don't believe in having a backlog, but but like I said, it clearly showed people mainly care about those AAA games, the first party ones, and it's, even though the library is the biggest part of Game Pass, people really mainly only care about those AAA first party games, and that's because people like to pretend like it was the library. You were really there for the day one games.
It's funny, BG. We've Game Lodge and I have been having that same discussion. I was, and this goes back to the conversation of the impact of them delaying Redfall and Starfield, and the allure for me when they presented Game Pass was in fact Microsoft first party studios day and date releases, and I'm thinking at the time 2017 2018 I'm thinking, okay, so Forza, Halo, Gears, and then whatever other big first party games. I mean, that's and I think that's the easiest to me if I think about value, and I'm using like a value calculator, right? The easiest calculation for me is the AAA games at either $60 or $70, whatever they retail. We don't know what Microsoft's current gen AAA games are going to retail because they haven't released one yet. Maybe they're 70, maybe they're not. But that mindset of $60, right, for first party AAA games, you get 3 of those a year. That subscription's already paid off for itself, and then anything else in there is icing on the cake, right? That hasn't happened, and I do seem to remember, BG, like on Twitter, like maybe you remember this too, but like when they announced the first party date, I mean, that's the thing people were talking about, right? I get all these
Game Pass,
go ahead.
Was the thing way before that. It didn't have the day one games for like what was it, 2 years at least, 2-3 years? I don't know, something like that.
I think it was whenever, I think was it Gears 5, like the first like big AAA game release in Game Pass, I think.
I think it was Sea of Thieves, then Gears 5.
It was Sea of Thieves? No, it wasn't Sea of Thieves, was it?
Yeah, it was Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, and then Gears 5 came out that holiday.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so that was the allure for me, and I do agree with you, BG. Like I don't use Game Pass. My kids use it a little bit, but I don't. But even then, like, it's funny. I was saying this. I mentioned this. Game, like I mentioned to you, my kids' usage of Game Pass. Like they found one game or 2 games. Really, they found one game, and that was Forza Horizon 5, and they don't use it. That's it. They're done. I mean, so like they're only playing one game. I'm not getting a lot of value out of my subscription right now. And I haven't used Game Pass since November of last year in order to play Halo Infinite campaign. Now the multiplayer is free. But I do agree with you, BG. I think I think a lot of people were initially signing up for those big, AAA games. Microsoft, wanting to, and even saying they're going to release a first-party exclusive every quarter. Although they didn't give a definitive date when that would happen, but they did say this in 2020. Obviously you say things like that, people are going to get even more excited. And then the studio acquisitions too, right? But anyhow, Forte, man, any thoughts on this, man, about the unsubs?
Man, I'm so tired of this.
Why are you tired, Forte? Why are you tired, sir?
Because it's like, man, this world is just full of followers. That's what it is. It's like every time you look up, one person says something, then when it becomes the more popular thing to do, everybody jumps on the bandwagon and runs with it. There's nothing wrong with canceling your subscription. I don't like you should. If you're not getting what you feel like is the value that was promised to you, cancel it. But people going online and saying, I'm unsubscribing to this, and then I'm doing this, and then another person comes, so I'm doing this too. It's just like, are y'all all in the Discord somewhere to say, oh, we're gonna all hit the button at the same time? Because that's what it came off as. It was like literally the games got delayed for a year, and then all of a sudden, 24 hours later, everybody forgot that Game Pass didn't have games in the first place that came from Microsoft with a first party front.
That's the funny part.
That's
they haven't released a big game since the new console came out.
Right.
So it's not like all of a sudden like, oh no, we're not getting games now. We've been ain't getting games.
And that's the whole thing that irritated me about the situation. Like, I ain't gonna say irritated because I was mostly laughing at it, but I was just sitting there looking like, we have literally, this system has been out a year and a half. And the only two first-party games of note was Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5. And Halo Infinite is half a game. So we haven't had anything that really shows what the service is. And then you got people out there tweeting, oh, Phil Spencer quote tweeted saying that we wanted to have at least one AAA game every quarter, so 4 over the course of a year. But that was what the goal was. People are making it seem like the goal is the actual reality. Like, I'm like, wait, you subscribed to something knowing what the reality of the situation was. You saw that everybody was like, Game Pass is this. And then you go back to the conversation that all these all of these journalists were saying not even a year ago. Oh, Game Pass is one of the best services ever. I don't even play my PlayStation 5 anymore because Game Pass is so incredible. Well, what games were you playing on Game Pass last year when you said that? What were you playing?
Well, let me ask though, because that seems to be really dismissive of the notion that all of this stuff happens upon a continuum, right? It all happens upon a timeline. And last year in 2021, subscribers to Game Pass got Forza Horizon, which I'm a racing game fan. They got Halo Infinite, the stuff that's not in Halo Infinite, I don't particularly care about. I never used Forge. I can wait to play co-op. So Halo Infinite had at least some of the stuff that I was looking for. They also got Psychonauts 2, and then they got some other smattering of things. So they had their coffers filled in holiday of 2021.
But this was all said before then, though. That's the problem. I understand what you're saying, but this was before that happened.
I thought we were talking about the people who were canceling their.
I'm going back to these same people talking about this narrative. Game Pass was so incredible last year, but all of a sudden it sucks now because 2 games got delayed out of the year. And what were you playing last year? Halo Infinite wasn't out yet. Psychonauts wasn't out yet. Forza Horizon wasn't out yet. What were you playing? You were playing a broken version of Outriders? Because that game was broke for everybody. Maybe you like MLB.
Not on PC,
MLB, it was broke everywhere, bro.
No, it wasn't. Not on PC.
MLB was like the shiny beacon of Game Pass last year because it was like a game that
MLB
worked
this year.
Right.
And then you didn't get MLB this year.
Right, you get it every. It seems like you're going to get it every year from what it looks like with the deals. That
I see.
Microsoft got
I
in
see what
place
you're
with
saying,
them.
Forte. You're basically saying like, what you're disappointed for 2 games being canceled, but earlier last year you didn't really have anything to play anyway, right? Given the time frame, right?
But and that's the thing. You could cancel your service, but you out here making it seem like this is something new, and that's the thing that really is like the troubling thing. It's like. That's why I say it's a bunch of following going on, because none of these people thought about doing any of this stuff until, like BG said, Gene Park went out there and said, I'm canceling my subscription. And then once they saw that he was getting a lot of support on the tweet and stuff and talking about the things he was talking about, all the rest of the check marks came out and decided to voice their opinions on how they feel about Game Pass and everything.
So
and
you're
I'm
saying,
like,
you're saying the check marks are frauding out here then?
Well, they've been. Come on, man.
Checkmark brigade, man.
It's always been a lot of frauding when it goes on to that. People. Okay, like perfect example. I have Game Pass. I have 2 subscriptions of it. I have my own subscription and I have my daughter's subscription, my oldest daughter. I did not pay for my Game Pass because I work for GameStop and Microsoft gave me a year of it, and I just consistently keep having that. But you don't.
I'm going to report you to the
to
FTC, sir.
Yeah, whatever. But you don't hear me out here telling and championing like, "Oh, Game Pass is the most incredible thing ever." I'm just saying it's a really good deal if you can afford it. Partake in it. But the biggest thing is people out here making it seem like it's the most trash service ever now, and that's not the case. It's just the fact that you are not happy with the experience that you're getting from it. But you are trying to make it seem like that experience has always been trash. But literally a year ago, you were saying the complete opposite thing when the same thing was going on when there was no games.
So my perspective for being somebody who's in that demographic, right? I onboarded with Game Pass in 2019. I was satisfied up through last year. There were some misses and problems up to that point, but that 2-year time frame was within my tolerance level for the misses, right? We turned the corner into 2022, and the misses are now a larger problem for me, as BRAP and I have been talking about over the last 2 weeks, right? There are some endemic production pipeline problems with Microsoft as a conglomerate of game studios and what's releasing to both PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass, to a point that now after 2 years of saying, no problem, I can wait, now it's problematic. Last year, we got, like you said, we got MLB, we got Forza Horizon, Psychonauts 2, Halo Infinite, because I also play on PC, Age of Empires 4. While we're throwing shade at Microsoft Flight Simulator not being a game, I play Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's one of my big genres that I play in. So again, I had a pipeline of stuff that created a value level for me in Xbox Game Pass. That value level has fallen off, and it's fallen below my threshold. And I also tweeted out on Twitter, although I don't have nearly the popularity of a Gene Park, and I said it in the course of another thing that I was commenting on, that I had also canceled my Game Pass subscription. So while I don't disagree with you that there was a lot of clout banging and other stuff that was going on around this topic in the last couple of years, I don't want to be dismissive of the notion that there has been, in my perception, a drop-off in production pipeline performance in what's being delivered into Game Pass, such that I would expect that a certain demographic of consumers are currently in the throes of canceling their Game Pass subscription in the wake of Redfall and Starfield being canceled. And I think that's valid.
But you know what? You're absolutely right. But the question always comes back to the consistency. That's all I'm talking about. I've been the person that's been saying ever since Halo Infinite got announced that game was far out. When they delayed it for a year, I told everybody day one, that game needs more than a year for everything that they want to do in the game. They need 2. When they gave it a date, I didn't blame 343. I blamed Microsoft because they wanted to sell 20th anniversary cups instead of having their number 1 franchise game be something that everybody could be proud of and look forward to this year. So I can sit there and be disappointed and say on Twitter that, hey, I don't like the state that this game is and I'm not playing it and season 2 don't look any better, even though I still played the game. I can say that because I've been consistently saying over a year. But when you got all of these people out here, for one, they're saying it's like you can go out and cancel something because you don't like it. You can even voice your opinion on that. But the moment that everybody wants to feel like they can come out and they feel like they got a voice and they can just say whatever they want to say, that's the issue I have with the thing. Because it's like this waterfall effect. Now you've got everybody out here thinking that something is just as bad. It's like misinformation and stuff. It's like people subscribe to that service for one and one thing only. And I already know it's the first party exclusives. That's the reason people subscribe to it. Everybody knows that. Nobody did it for the third party games or something like that. Yes, it's a really good catalog of older games that a lot of people already played, but predominantly people bought into this service for 2-3 years so they can have first party day and date games from Microsoft. And everybody on this panel will be the first ones to tell you that they haven't lived up to that expectation since the service has been out. 1 or 2 games every other year is not living up to the expectation of what your gamers want when it comes to that service. So people acting like that is something that is new is being disingenuous, and that's the problem I have with it.
So I don't disagree with you that there's a strata of consumers that are on the service for that reason, but I do disagree with the notion that that's the only reason people subscribe. I think
if you look at Twitter, that's what it is. That's all I'm saying.
And we talk almost every week about how Twitter is an incredibly microscopic component of the entire gaming market. It's a very vocal component, but it's incredibly small in terms of market bargaining power.
Exactly.
I think there are 3 stratas of consumers that are on board in the Game Pass service. There are those of us who want AAA games. That's the bucket that I would call in the middle. The bucket at the top is the one that, for whatever reason, specifically wants Microsoft first-party AAA games. And then there's a third bucket of people, and I wrote these demographics out on Twitter, that, quite honestly, I think have a more normalized view and a better expectation of what that service should provide and what it is going to provide. Mm-hmm. And those metrics are around, I would expect that game service, at least for the next probably 2 years, 3 years maybe, is going to provide about 50 to 60% indie titles, 20 to 30% AA titles, and 10 to 20% AAA. I think that's the reality of that service. I think that there are a bucket of people, and some people are going to be mad, I'm not saying these things to be triggering. I think that there's a bucket of people that have less discerning tastes, maybe, who are fine with that. Broken mentioned that it's a backlog simulator, and there's a demographic of consumers that are completely fine with that. Yeah. There are people, I've talked about it on my show, there are people who go out and buy an Xbox Series S and don't buy any games. They buy an Xbox Series S, it is a Game Pass machine, it sits over in a corner, and it's just so they have access to stuff that they wouldn't normally go after. It's not necessarily their premier console and their premier service, but it provides a chunk of rainy day content that's always available to them at their fingertips. And I think that's a not insignificant part of the market.
Yeah, I agree. BG, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
BG's like, yeah.
People are definitely, sheep, right? Because listen, I do find it weird to announce a lot of things. Unsubscribing from Game Pass is one of them. I mean, it's even, I remember when, I'm sure everybody's had this where somebody gets mad at you on your channel for saying something they don't like, and they be like, I'm unsubscribing. I'm like, all right. do you think I'm gonna think about this throughout my day that you unsubscribed? I already forgot. It's just a weird thing to announce. Like, bro, nobody really cares. I mean, you could announce it if you want it, I guess, but announcing it isn't as bad as people, I guess, just following suit just because they see somebody doing it. That's always been a weird habit, of people on Twitter. Everybody just like follows somebody else, follows trends, and kind of even adapts certain beliefs that they didn't have prior, but just because somebody else said it, like, oh, okay, I believe that now too. That's how I move now too.
So let me ask a question, just because we're having an interesting social conversation here now that we've seems like we've settled down on some level of agreement about the service.
Right.
How and I don't really vastly disagree with you guys, but I am wondering, how is that different than the positive side? So, for instance, Hogwarts, right? And BRAP is in this pool of people who have said they're there day one, and I have said I don't know why people are saying that they're there day one, because if you look at the track record of that developer does not have a track record that would pull me into the deep end of the pool to cause me to get excited about Hogwarts, regardless of how the trailer looked. So one of my questions is, from the positive side, people do this on the positive side all the time. Some BRAP says, I'm there day one on Hogwarts. A bunch of people follow suit and say that they're also there day one. Or people say that they've bought a game. People bought Elden Ring, and you saw a flurry of tweets about people who are onboarded with Elden Ring. I would contend with Elden Ring, there are a flurry of people who said that they bought it. There are a flurry of people who, I hope I'm not offending anybody, take these tropish pictures on Twitter with the game controller in one hand with their feet pointed towards their television with the title screen of the game on. And then I saw them never tweet another thing about Elden Ring. So why is one bad and another one is okay?
I don't think it's bad or good. I think it's the same. I think in general, okay, well, if we're talking about just our conversation here, we're doing a podcast, so we're going to talk about it in the way that we feel about it, in that reason. But if you know, I didn't go on Twitter and try to lambaste anybody about their decision on why they did it. I just said there's a bunch of followers out here. I was like, that's it. Because no matter where you are on the good or the bad side, people are going to follow. You get a really good sense of people that have their own sense of branding for themselves and what they're willing to stand up for themselves when it comes to games. And then you have the people that just follow their favorite content creator and parrot what they say. That's nothing new. And that's something that's always going to be a thing on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're at, that's going to happen. The thing is, I think we're just talking about it in this space now because it's something that negatively impacted one side or the other, and it just makes for good conversation. But in general, you're right. It's the same everywhere you go. It's just that for some people, the negative comments hurt more than the feel good ones, because the feel good ones can galvanize a community like Elden Ring did. You know, it had people going out buying a game that they had no business even trying to play. And like you said, people went out and took screenshots of the home screen and never tweeted anything else about it. And guess what? But the people that did enjoy that game were consistently playing it, and they were posting gameplay and stuff like that. So there's the good and the bad when it comes to that too. But it's just like I always tell people, anywhere from 10% below are people that actually have a thinking brain of knowing exactly what they want and how they want to go about it. The rest of everybody else is just following other people. And that's not just saying that anybody in our chat or anybody on Twitter in particular, but that's just kind of how the conversation goes. And once you understand that, then you kind of just be like, well, I see where this conversation is going to go, honestly.
I got you.
Long-winded, but I'm sorry.
No, that was good, man.
B Money. I ain't heard you in a minute, man. What's up? What you got, bro?
Man, I got nothing. I just, I sit back and just enjoy the comedy of the timeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, is a few months ago it was the most incredible thing ever, and 2 weeks ago it's the worst thing ever. Everybody's unsubscribing. This is the worst decision I ever made. I mean, all this other nonsense. So to me, it's pure comedy. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, it's not about gaming at that point, because there's still quality games hitting the service. You know what I mean? Trek the Yomi was in there. You know what I mean? Yulin Chronicles was in there. I mean, like, there's games hitting the service, and obviously people just look over that content. So it is what it is. Whatever the trendy narrative is, for the week, that's what everybody follows. Kind of like you said. So I sit back and enjoy the comedy, man.
Yeah, I always look at it and I tell people, I was like, I bought my PlayStation 5 day one for one game. It was God of War. Guess what? God of War still ain't here. But do you hear me complaining that, hey man, where's God of War at? When God of War gonna come out? Bought this. Oh, I bought this system and the game that I bought it for still isn't here a year and a half later. Do you hear me complaining about it? No, I bought a PlayStation 5 for the fact that I know they're gonna be hard to get. and I'm still getting my value out of it with it just sitting right here next to me. Because guess what? When that game finally does release, it's going to be worth every bit of that $500 that I put into it, and I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm not going to go on Twitter and cry and say, "Oh, I wish they released this and I released that." Because people, when you buy something, do you just buy? See, that's the other thing. You buy stuff just to be part of a conversation instead of just buying it for you. And that's the problem that a lot of these people have out there. They get upset at something that's not being done for them when they bought it for the wrong reason in the first place.
All right, I get you. It just to clarify, because I feel like I'm being attacked.
Oh, not you.
I know. I'm just joking. I know. I'm just joking. So, but the reason I dropped Game Pass was just because my reality was I was part of this demographic of people that Microsoft talks about, where I was on Game Pass, but when a game appealed to me, particularly a AAA game, I played it initially on Game Pass, but then I just went ahead and bought it. So I bought MLB The Show, in 2021. I bought Halo Infinite. I bought Forza Horizon. I bought Microsoft. So what happened for me is I turned the corner into this year. We've got cancellations, and I'm like, I don't need to pay a recurring revenue, right? Recurring fee for a service when I'm just going to wind up buying these games anyway. If they're going to be delayed, I can just move this to a just-in-time kind of purchasing mechanism and just wait for them to come out and to hear whether or not they're okay. And I just got out of, and I know, what B is saying. I just, those games where I used to spend a lot of time kind of harvesting some of that other type of content, like Trek to Yomi and some of those other things, I haven't been playing them as much. I've been doubling down on, Halo Infinite and Destiny 2 and some of these live service games. And so the service has just lost its appeal to me. I haven't said the service is bad and everyone should offboard. It's just I've said I've clarified what my own desires and purchasing mentality is, and talked about how that's moved me to a place where I no longer want to be in Game Pass.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I had Game Pass from whenever they started the dollar deal up until February of this year. Like it ended, and I just kind of moved on. Like I didn't need to make an announcement about it. I didn't have to say, oh, there's no games there. Like, hey, Game Pass is over for me. When they put new content in there that seems interesting to me, I'll jump back in. But it's not something I got to scream from rooftops. You know what I mean? I think that's just the goofy mentality. Like everybody's got to voice everything that they do. Like I don't know. I think it's just weird.
I brushed my teeth today.
It's just weird behavior, man. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Let me grab these super chats here real quick, gentlemen. I hope I missed. Hold on a sec here. One just popped up. Shit, no, I can't find it. Hold on. All right, here we go. Mike with the $10 super chat says, let's be honest. People are two-faced when it comes to game delays. There was outrage with Cyberpunk and Battlefield launch, broke it, and now the same outrage for Starfield trying to avoid that mistake.
So I think gamers are going to outrage regardless. If
exactly.
If whatever the game is that you're looking forward to, if it gets delayed, you're going to be mad. If it comes out broken, you're going to be mad. Like that's just the reality of it. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like we're consumers, so we want the product that we've been hyped for so long, and when it gets delayed, of course it's disappointing. We're going to be mad about it. We're going to voice our opinion about it. But if we also hype it up and it come out and it's not exactly what we thought it was going to be, we're going to voice our opinion about that as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Game Logic. You think you were about to chime in?
My problem with this, and I don't disagree with Mike. I want to say, I wonder if this is the same Mike that was made a comment on Crossfire as well, or maybe last week on BRAP. It's not. It's the thing that I feel like gets missed and gets dismissed by people who are in this camp of nobody should be complaining, is that it's not about the singular miss of the Starfield delay. It's about the trend. It's about the fact that this is a production pipeline problem and a long-term roadmap problem, not just a single delay problem. It's about the fact that you look at things like the compiling problems around State of Decay, the Initiative, all of these games that are supposed to be in pipeline that we don't have visibility and certainty on. One of the things that Brap and I talked about and that I went back and did some math on is what should the pipeline look like based on the fact that Microsoft said that they want to put a game in there once a quarter, right? A first party, they call it a major game. There's been some vacillation about whether or not people should think that should mean AAA. I mean, to do that, if you assume that every game of that ilk has a 60-month development pipeline, that means that you have to have a minimum of 20 studios to get to a point to where you have a battle rhythm where you are producing and shipping a game every quarter. 20 studios at a minimum. That means no risk, no misses. Obviously, you're going to have misses. You're going to have delays. So you have to pad the total number of studios, right, to a point where it's greater than 20. And so, studio acquisition started in 2018. You have to make some assumptions around people needed to flush their production pipelines of things that were already in process. You have to make some assumptions around the notion that some of those studios had to get regulatory approvals to make the acquisition. So there's a point in the timeline where you don't even really start contributing to that production pipeline velocity, right? That's at some point beyond the announcement of the first acquisitions in 2018. So it's going to be a while. My prediction is that it's going to be until maybe 2025 where you're going to have all of these studios dispositioned in a production pipeline with all of the tools in place, with all of the plans laid out for them to actually start consistently delivering on a game per quarter, first party AAA from Microsoft Studios. It may come in earlier than that. There are some mitigating ways they can get there faster, but it's definitely not 2022 and it's definitely not 2023. So the problem is not that Starfield got delayed. It's that there's apparently, in my mind, a problem with the orchestration of this production pipeline. I know one of the mods hates it when I go on for too long. But one of the things that's also concerning to me is, and BRAP gave me some links so I could do some additional research, was Booty's statement that a big part of the leadership approach as Microsoft is to be very hands-off with these studios and to have them all creator-led. And one of my problems, one of the things that I say in business all the time is you cannot get deterministic outputs out of ambiguous things on the front end, out of ambiguous direction. And so having creator-led studios is great, but I don't know if that means that the creative directors are the ones who are in charge of the studios much more so than the producers, or that the creative directors have much more sway. But if you don't have people in charge of these studios and you don't have these studios accountable to the notion of the steady battle rhythm and pace and cadence that must be achieved in order to have the production pipeline output that you need, then you're not going to get what you want and you're not going to achieve that objective, because the perspective of creation is always that schedule is secondary to creativity. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're trying to line up to. That's not what they've stated their strategy is. And so they've got to reconcile that in order to achieve this objective.
Yeah, Slow-Mo's actually been very vocal about that. Like maybe perhaps there's too much freedom given to some of these studios. They need to rein them in a little bit. And actually, Game Logic Mike is actually chimed back with the $20 super chat. Xbox laid out the roadmap back in 2020. There was only 2 games promised for 2022. And considering how every game has been delayed recently, why is anyone surprised? Is he saying God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, GTA 7 all delayed last year? The war also happened.
I guess here's my problem. I'll try and resolve this quickly for here's my problem with reconciling what Microsoft has said is their strategy and what's published and what needs to happen is there needs to be a roadmap that is a chart on a wall that shows one game by name designated dropping every quarter. And then there needs to be a second tier on that has all the contingencies and backups for when people miss. And then there needs to be a third tier, and there needs to be policy around that. There needs to be things like, hey, if a game is ready in March of 2023, I may not release it then if I've already got a game dropping and I haven't had misses and delays. I've got to have allowances for a game shipping potentially as much as, let's say, 6 months later after it's due because I may have a miss. That level of orchestration and coordination does not marry with anything that I've heard out of the Xbox camp. I've heard wishes and hopes, and I've heard creator-led studios, and I haven't heard anything that tells me that there is a safety net and and enough of production capacity laid out for them to hit these objectives that they need to hit. That's my problem and my concern. It's not about not being surprised. The point is when you say that you're going to do one game per quarter and that you're going to walk up to that production capacity, that's not telling me that it's okay for me to be surprised or that I shouldn't be surprised when I don't fulfill that. That's telling me that company should be taking the steps necessary to prevent the surprises from happening.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, and to me, this is nothing new.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, this is all the same old story. Microsoft couldn't manage 4 studios. What the hell make you think they can manage 20?
Mm.
And by the time they acquire Activision, it'll be 30.
Right. So to me, it's the same old story. 343i has been a mess for how long? Oh, forever.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like they have no control over what Rare's doing. They just do whatever they want. Sea of Thieves came out super bare bones. Finally caught legs. We put enough content in it. People play it. Before that, what was Rare doing? Nothing.
They even
What's
showed
Rare
their new
doing
game.
now?
They don't even know what it is. B-Money.
They showing the new game. Don't even know what the hell it is. So if they
Yeah.
can manage those studios that've been there for years, what the hell makes y'all think they're gonna manage these new studios that they just bought?
Yeah, that's why I keep telling, like, the fans still want them to buy more studios. I'm like, yeah, just because they went on a hiring spree, I know that doesn't mean the solution to everything is to buy more studios, right? Like, because there's really people who think that's the solution. That's just the goal, is to acquire nonstop studios at now, right? I kind of get it. It's like you had 5 at one point, so it's like that. It's like a guy who's never had anything, and then he has the opportunity to get everything, so they think that's the solution. When that's not the answer necessarily. There is a sweet spot of studios, that you want, because there is a such thing as too many. There's definitely such a thing as too many.
And you make a good point. They need to do more than just acquire. They need to put support studios into play. They can't just have everybody going off developing their own thing. They need to have a pool of resources that they can swerve and deliver just in time to studios when they're struggling, to help them bolster their production output. And they need to pool and make a set of common tools and resources and infrastructure that can be leveraged across multiple studios, so that some of these studios can go ahead and go off and do whatever they want to do in Unreal Engine 5 or whatever. But there's a set of studios where there is a team of snipers, of sharpshooters, SWAT teams that build the infrastructure and the tools for multiple studios, and everybody draws from that pool, so that things are common and things are smoothed out, and the degree of unpredictability and uncertainty in the production pipeline gets reduced.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't even know how to pronounce this person's name, Genkin Co. or GKN Co. whatever. Says all these talk on this panel shows you guys lack knowledge and actual dev, and Microsoft believes in their strategy. Microsoft are slowly building from the ground up. He's referring to NXL Studio, and Brian Fargo stated clearly he believes in the Microsoft strategy and it paying off. I would say to you, what else is he supposed to say? I mean, that it's not going to pay off?
What did we even say that was a counter to that?
I don't even know when Brian Fargo even said that, but if he did, again, I mean, like, what else is he supposed to say? That it's not? I mean, what creative artist or developer, if presented with money and the opportunity to develop games, and they're saying, hey, have at it, no microman. I mean, what? I don't know. Yeah. Anyhow, which, again, this is actually a great segue, B-Money. You mentioned their ability to manage games or studios. And I think that's a big question mark. I think, BG, you mentioned it too. Like, they're about, people want more, but they need to, first of all, they need to get they need to get content out now, right? They need to let these acquisitions kind of, bear some fruit.
Hey, bro, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Man. I know I should be shutting up.
Let it go, man. Let it go, Game. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
And I mean, I try and be nice. look, I mean, we're up here on the podcast. We're not anything more than anyone else, but this question bothers me. Shows you guys lack knowledge. An actual dev at Microsoft believes in their strategy. Microsoft are slowly building from the ground up. What?
Yeah, I was confused. Like, what does that have to do with anything you said?
When in the fuck did Microsoft Game Studios become some freaking startup company in Silicon Valley? When did these guys become a 20-person No Man's Sky Hello Game size operation? This is the largest conglomeration of development studios on the planet. They're not building from the ground up. These guys have been in business for over 20 years. We're not talking about Great Sky, man. We're not talking about a new development studio who's figuring crap out for the first time. I agree that they are encountering challenges that are more significant in many ways than other studios, but they have some of the most experienced game development talent in that studio, and they are having problems. They are having problems realizing their own strategy. They're having problems meeting yardsticks that I didn't set, that no one on this panel set. They are having problems achieving their own objectives by their own publicly stated KPIs. This is not a startup company that is slowly building from the ground up. This is a company that was hitting on all cylinders from a production pipeline perspective on the OG Xbox and the Xbox 360 that have now experienced a slump in a generation that they are still trying to recover from and come back up to battle speed. So it's whatever, man. I mean, lack of knowledge by your accounts. I don't know what the hell freaking credentials that's based upon, but I find that hypothesis kind of ludicrous. Sorry.
No, and I heard no. I mean, this is. I think BG, you said the fans kind of speak like this. Did you? I don't want to misquote you, BG, but
I just said the fans, just really think, acquisition, and it's like every time anytime there's any acquisition talk around somebody that seemingly wants to sell, whether it's Ubisoft or EA, like you see Xbox fans like, yeah, Xbox should buy them. Really? I don't understand that. Like, so you want them to have all the studios they have now, and listen, you could say it's not absolutely proven, but there is some evidence there to mismanagement with several studios. I can't even keep track of it.
I mean, BG, they mismanaged their most iconic franchise.
Yeah, listen, hey, this is not even about opinion. You can objectively look at Halo and say that this game, the single player and the multiplayer, launched still a year early after they delayed it a whole year. Like that's mismanagement. There's a studio, I can't remember who it is, that literally made a game and they said they have no idea what this game is. How do you make an entire game and not know what it is and what the point of the game is? Then there's that thing with the initiative, and then there's rumors about Fable having some type of issue, and so you want Ubisoft to go under them, which Ubisoft is an entire mess right now.
Yeah, they
by
are
themselves. They're
and financially a mess.
They are a mess in terms of game development. EA, it's funny because you could say EA and Ubisoft kind of switch places. EA was the mess, maybe 10 years ago. They were worse off than Ubisoft. Ubisoft was really good 10 years ago. Now they're a catastrophe. So you want Microsoft to suddenly manage disasters when, how does that make sense to anybody? Why would you want more disasters under you? That's why I'm thinking they want acquisitions just to be able to count something on their fingers. We've got another one, not because you actually think this is smart or it makes sense. So it's that whole mentality is just weird to me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, to put a bow on so GK whatever. I mean, so a great case in point is just the initiative to build what you yourself called, right, that Microsoft themselves called a quadruple A studio. And to pump the money that had to go into that studio, into that P&L center to recruit that level of talent that was there. And for those people to have left and there to be no tangible output, that's what I mean. That's the type of thing that you cannot do on the left side, where you have ambiguousness, uncertainty, indescript outputs, right? If you're gonna pump that kind of money into a thing, they have to be accountable to achieving certain objectives that are in line with your own metrics, right? You've put a number on what your desired output is. You've quantified it. You cannot target and achieve that quantifiable output when you allow sloppy, uncertain, ambiguous, random input on the left side, right? It doesn't suddenly become something quantifiable and tangible, right, to get to the right side. That's just not what you can do within a business. You have to do something different.
Yeah, no, that's well said, Game Logic. I do want to move on to the last topic of the evening as we talk about Microsoft. B mentioned, the history of mismanagement. So it just came out that Microsoft actually passed on the opportunity to potentially work with Marvel on first-party games for Xbox. This happened in 2014. And this is actually in a book, The Ultimate History of Video Games, Volume 2 by Stephen Kent, I believe is the author's name. Also, Mr. Matty Plays mentioned on his channel that Microsoft also passed on the opportunity to make the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which for those who don't know, I've been on the Xbox platform for 20 years. I was an Xbox Live beta tester. Knights of the Old Republic is synonymous with the original Xbox console. It was one of the best games one of the best Western RPGs of that generation, in my opinion, and one of the best video games on the original Xbox. It helped further put the Xbox on the map, the original Xbox it is. And according to what Mr. Matty Plays has been told from somebody at Aspire, which is the studio. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Aspire. Somebody who works at Aspire. That in fact, Microsoft passed on the opportunity to make this game, this remake. That it's synonymous with the Xbox brand. I mean, we were all surprised last year when Sony revealed that in fact KOTOR was going to be a PlayStation 5. I think timed exclusive. I think that was or maybe that wasn't what was said at the reveal. Later said afterwards, but that KOTOR remake was in fact coming to the PlayStation 5. Would also be on PC. I've also heard that it's not just KOTOR remake. KOTOR 2 will be remade, and there could be a third KOTOR game. This actually was supposed to be a planned trilogy many years ago, and the third game didn't happen. And that these actually games are going to be console exclusive to PlayStation 5. So two big franchises that Microsoft passed on. I think we could maybe speculate in 2014. Terry Myerson was there. He's been known as The Wall, blocked a lot of things Xbox related, but still they passed up the opportunity to make this game. And now KOTOR, though. KOTOR, that is mind-boggling to me. Like, how do you pass on KOTOR? A game that is synonymous with your brand, it came out 20 years ago, debuted on the original Xbox platform, was a great exclusive on the original Xbox. These are two big misses. B, I'm going to go to you first, and then I want to go to BG after, and then we'll open up to the rest of the panel. B, when you heard this, man, what did you think, man?
Well, I mean, in regards to the Marvel thing, like, I guess it's to be expected. At that point in time, Microsoft wasn't really in a good place. They had just came off of the whole debacle of Xbox One, and I mean, Donnie D was in charge, and they were kind of trying to get things changed over to Phil, and I'm sure that kind of came at not the best of times as far as I think it came out that they were trying to focus on their own IPs, and at that point, they probably should have, just because I mean it was at that point really just Halo, Gears, and Forza. So they're trying to branch out and bring new IP to the table. They tried a few things, but nothing really clicked. Like the bigger titles, that they're known for. So at that point, I guess it's kind of understandable. Sony, kind of being aligned with Spider-Man already, having the movie rights and things like that. It was just a perfect fit for them, and they capitalized on it, and were able to get Insomniac at a super cheap price, and now they're in house, and they've released 2 or 3 Spider-Man games, another one coming, and really building up that platform. So, but in regards to the KOTOR, I mean that was like when you thought of that game, you thought of Xbox. You know what I mean? For them to kind of pass up on that, I think there's definitely a head scratcher. It's like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I mean? With all the stuff about being proud of the brand and standing on IPs and things like that, that would have been the perfect opportunity to capitalize on that. Make that a exclusive again. Microsoft got the bag. They could have ensured that it was exclusive to the console the entire time, and you just kind of wonder, what they were thinking, passing up on that.
Yeah, no, I agree, B Money. Yeah, that the KOTOR thing is even more shocking to me than the Marvel thing. I mean, I both are like, wow, but the KOTOR thing just head scratcher. To me, that'd be like, Itagaki-san getting back together with Team Ninja and saying we want to do a remake of Ninja Gaiden, and Microsoft saying no, right?
Right.
Yeah. BG, what were your thoughts, man, when you heard about this Microsoft passing on these big opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, it was so it's partially their fault and it was bad timing because, obviously at the time they only had like 5 or 6 studios, and even if they wanted to, they probably couldn't have done it because, they just didn't have the studios to handle it. The KOTOR thing is a little bit more surprising, I guess, because that's somewhat recent, right? That deal happened a few years ago, probably. So shocking they didn't get that for whatever reason. They turned it down. But yeah, it's bad timing, but also them not being prepared in case something like that comes up, because those were huge deals. We know Spider-Man went on to sell 20 million. I was never like a huge KOTOR fan, but I know from how people talk about that game, I get it. I know and understand how big of a deal it was to people. So I don't. It's definitely a missed opportunity. It hurt them. I would be surprised if this still happens. If a license goes out and Microsoft of something major and Microsoft doesn't get it, then it definitely looks bad on them. Because I mean, we even learned back in the day they turned down GTA. GTA could have been an Xbox
GTA
exclusive.
3. That's right.
Yeah, so when you learn about like so many things they passed on, whether it was because they couldn't do it at the time or they just didn't believe in the project, overall it still looks bad. I mean, GTA, Spider-Man, KOTOR, like it's not looking, it's not looking good for you. We can excuse like 1 or 2, but all 3 of them, it's just, it just looks bad altogether.
Well, the other thing too, BG, I don't know if you remember this article by Imran Khan. And I think it was maybe it was a year ago, or right around the release of the new consoles that are out now, where he said Sony was outbidding Microsoft for content. I mean, that to me was shocking, considering that, that
That's definitely surprising.
That Microsoft's got an abundance of money, and I get the Xbox doesn't have unlimited coffers per se, but they are investing a lot in the Xbox platform right now. But I was shocked to hear that, and and B's been very vocal about it. They are. B always talk about Jim Ryan. I mean, it's, as much as we say Jim Ryan should probably not speak as much as he does.
Yeah, he's definitely a buffoon, but as a businessman, he's that dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, B. Like, you're right. Like, B, you have been very adamant about he may be a buffoon when he speaks, but when it comes to like delivering content for the PlayStation, he's quote unquote could deliver the goods, if you will, right?
Yes, sir. There's still a lot more to come, man. I've been telling y'all since the beginning of the year. Everybody thought like, oh, they're not gonna have anything. I've been telling y'all, nope, that their strategy has changed. I told y'all last year. I told y'all beginning of this year. The strategy changed. The days of not having games during holiday season, that shit is over with.
And you still think God of War is releasing 2022?
Yeah, among other games.
Okay, all right.
So I told you, man, when be the only one I'm scared of when it comes to stuff like this.
Forte, you've been quiet, sir.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think, man? Are you KOTOR, man? What do you think about KOTOR? I think you played KOTOR back in the NT Xbox, right?
I did.
So hearing this, what are you thinking, Forte? You like, man, I can't believe they missed this. Like, what's going on?
It definitely sucks. It really sucks. But like everybody was saying, Xbox was in a horrendous place back then. It still doesn't excuse the simple fact that they came to you first. It's like you came to them. It's like they came to you and you scorned them, and they said, you know what, we'll just find something better to do with it. And that's honestly what they ended up doing. Sony is in a better position overall. I think if this was something that was to happen like over the course of the last 3-4 years, I think it would be a different outcome. I think Xbox would definitely take it up to be able to do something like that, because I think they have the studios in place to be able to do something like that. You already see it when it comes to like the Indiana Jones property being done by Machine Games and stuff. So I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they only had 5 studios at that point. Lioness Studios was being canceled and put out to the pasture like 2014, 2015. So that was a studio they lost and everything. And they basically just had to find a way to get Xbox to be a viable minimum product for Xbox at that point, because we all know the conversation about Phil Spencer going into Saudi's office and saying, why are we in gaming? And they made a great stride to actually fix that over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that these were huge IPs that you had an opportunity to have inside of your staple wheelhouse, and you didn't do it. And I think Activision was also at part fault for that, due for the fact that they didn't feel like Spider-Man or something like that would be bigger than it was. They looked at the sales of Batman. They said, we can't compete and actually make this bigger, because we felt like we did all we could do, because they looked at it as a property versus a superhero IP that if you put a lot of time and development into, you can make it to something like Spider-Man 2018. So I also think Microsoft missed the boat on what Insomniac was doing. I do think Sunset Overdrive is the main reason that Sony ended up asking Insomniac to do that, because if you look at Sunset Overdrive in its contextual self, the movement system, shooting from the air, flying around the maps and stuff like that, bouncing from building to building.
Yeah, traversal.
That was all proof positive until them saying like, hey, if you could do that with a game where you're like kind of semi-grounded, what can you do with that aphrodisiacal style if we give you something where mobility and flying through the air is something that you do all the time? And I think that was really, really good thinking on Sony's response to do that. I also think that was like kind of the beginning of the courting of them saying, we want to see if we want to purchase this developer. So if they can knock this out the park, this is going to be an opportunity for us to purchase them. And I do think, when it came to the discussions of them getting them in that purchase, I think them giving them that Spider-Man IP probably was part of it. I think it was Ted Price up until that point did not want to be purchased by anybody. He kept saying we want to be independent, but I think that Sony showing that much support in them to give them that IP is the reason they probably ended up settling and actually going with them. But that's just another reason why Sony is great at doing what they're doing. They see an opportunity and they pounce on it. And everybody talk about Jim Ryan. Yeah, Jim Ryan this, Jim Ryan that. But that man took one of the worst parts of PlayStation overseas in Europe and made it one of the best parts and then you don't think a person that's money motivated, money centric, isn't going to make deals to try to make the overall platform profitable and better overall. If you didn't think that was going to happen, you're missing the boat. So I do think Xbox missed out on this. It was a different Xbox then, but I do think if they had that opportunity to do again, they would not pass on it, even if they didn't know what the situation on these games would turn out. I just think that they're in a better place now, but that's hindsight at this point.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Forte. You talk about Sunset Overdrive, and I think about the traversal in that game, and having played Spider-Man for the first time, it actually did make me think about, wait a minute, like this is somewhat similar to what they did with Sunset Overdrive, which I thought was one of the better games on the Xbox One last generation. It was a great game, I thought.
It did. People didn't support it.
Had that rail slide mechanic that was very similar to Jet Set Radio Future or the Jet Set Radio games, which I enjoyed. But yeah, look, I again missed opportunities. This is something that when you think about speaking to the fan base, and one thing that I'll say that Nintendo and Sony do very well is they speak to their fan base. They give them things that get them excited, and KOTOR would have been one of those things. Imagine last year they said, hey, KOTOR's coming back to Game Pass. It's a remake. It's going to be exclusive on the Series X console, the console that eats monsters and 12 teraflops and has, velocity architecture and all these buzzwords that people throw out there. They don't know what the fuck they mean. That would have been I would have been hyped. I'd be like, oh shit, they're bringing KOTOR back. What's next? Didn't happen. I'm still excited for KOTOR remake though. Can't wait to play it. So, anyhow, by the way, BG, is it Neo GameSpark? I think that's who it is. Yeah, Neo. Mm-hmm. He wants to know how you're still awake. He said, "Aren't you in bed by 8 p.m.?"
Yeah, I'll be sleeping right after this.
He would
immediately
2 hours ago.
BG, do you really go to bed at 8 o'clock? Is that true?
No, absolutely. Sometimes, absolutely.
Oh man, I can't do that.
I just listen to my body, man. Sometimes my body tells me to go to sleep at 8. Sometimes it's maybe 9 or 10. Hey, it's whenever, but it's usually pretty early.
BG, what time?
Because I'm a morning person. I wake up like 6 o'clock, no matter what. Yeah. So.
All right, I hear you, man. Well, look, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the podcast. It's 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. BRAP's got to go to bed. BG's definitely got to go to bed. But want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat for hanging out with us. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And if you're new to the show, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. And probably gonna do a BRAP rant here about next couple days as relates to scapegoating of video games, because we're seeing it right now in the wake of another school shooting. I definitely want to talk about that. We talked a little bit about that earlier in the show when the show started. So want to give a big shout out to the panel and a big thank you to our returning guest here. BG, thank you for joining us again tonight, man. Always appreciate having you on. Please let everyone know where they can find you.
You can check out my channel, Broken Games HDR, and I host the Weapon Wheel podcast Sundays at 5:45 Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, and I'm on Twitter also. Same thing, Broken Games HDR.
No doubt. Well, thank you again, man. Definitely appreciate your time. And Game Logic, thanks for coming by, hanging out with again this evening, man. I've been MIA from Halo Infinite, man, but I will be back on at some point this week. Because you can be critical of the things you enjoy. Game Logic and I have been playing Halo Infinite. Despite its flaws, we have enjoyed some of the different variety modes, or I should say different modes in King of the Hill and Team Slayer. But man, thanks for coming back on. I don't know if you want to be found, so I'll leave that up to you.
Nah, man, I'm good. If people need to find me, they can stop by your podcast. They should be able to catch up with me there. And I apologize. GKN Co., you just hit a particular nerve for a particular argument that's been lobbied the last few weeks, and I hadn't spoken up about it, so you just crossed the threshold with it. I don't appreciate that that you guys lack knowledge, Barb. That seems like an unnecessarily insult, and I don't think that I throw those around at the chat here, so I don't appreciate them being lobbed at me either. So if you want reasons for why I came at you like that, that's why. But yeah, no, I always enjoy being on the show. Always great to talk games in the industry. So hopefully I will continue getting the chances to do that.
All right, Ultimate Gamer got the code. Dropped the PlayStation digital code. He got that. So congratulations, Ultimate Gamer. Forteezy,
Forteezy.
the man with the $1 million lawn.
Oh man,
You got a show tomorrow. Well, I don't know.
do.
Will you have a show tomorrow? Because
Well, that's a good question. I'll let
Slow-Mo is not
everybody
feeling
know.
well.
Yeah, I'll let everybody know through the course of the day tomorrow. More than likely, he should be fine because he's been tweeting me articles and stuff. But in general, yeah, DPS podcast will be tomorrow. But just keep yourself posted on Twitter, following the official DPS podcast. Twitter account will announce on there if we are, and I'll also retweet it on my own. But that's every Thursday, 9 p.m. on my channel. So make sure you come and check us out. And other than that, guys, have a great week, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we got my man B Money 101. B, always a pleasure. Dude, if you've heard anything new about PlayStation, please let us know. But let everyone know they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere. Same name, B Money 101. All your favorite gaming platforms, social media, all that nonsense. I really don't have to say too much about PlayStation. They've had a couple meetings recently, and kind of have there's some things that I've been talking about for a while. I think they had a PlayStation meeting today, and they announced that there is 2 live service games that should be releasing this year.
Yep.
So like I said, beginning of the year, the traditional no holiday games for Sony, that is going to change. That is not going to be something that continues going forward. They do plan on releasing games throughout the entire year. I've been saying that for a while now, and this is just proof of that. So look forward to some bigger games coming out later this year.
Mm-hmm.
They do expect to have a larger increase of revenue from PC. So
Yep, they mentioned that. Yeah.
looks like those games will be releasing on PC as well. So
just give
PC players.
Just give me day and date releases on PC. I'm good. I am good.
Yeah, that was just coming. Just speak, man. Speak the truth.
No doubt, B. All right. All right, everyone. So, yeah, we're out. Have a great rest of the week. Everyone, please be safe. Enjoy playing video games. And, if you want to give me a follow on Twitter, BRAP_podcast. I may do a BRAP rant next couple days or so, maybe over the weekend, about video games being scapegoated again for the reason why violent crimes happen here in the U.S. So, yeah. All right, we're out. Everyone, good night. Catch you next time.